like it still keeps the flavor of it though, because you got to be mad to try to go for that hole, which I birdied today because it's a par five
Because it's a
now.
par 5 now. What do you think
Yeah,
of
so,
that?
I mean, I think it's the right call, especially because they surveyed all the players, and a lot of players were probably complaining about it. I think I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it's just a number. It's just a number. It doesn't matter if it's a par five or par four. Whatever you take on it is whatever you take on it." But I think there's a different mental battle that comes with it when you're playing from
Absolutely.
hole one and you're like, "Okay, hole 17 is going to be bogeying. Like it's a bogey or like our par. That's kind of where we're at." And that's a different mental game. That's a different game plan going in. Because even Tuesday on the qualifier, when I was like, okay, take a like low number as you can on that hole. That's just a different mindset. Whereas now, like with it being a par five, that it's like, okay, I might be able to birdie this last hole. I'm not going to feel bad with the par, so your score kind of locks in. And I think the mental battle of that hole changes. The score
Mhm.
doesn't change. You can still easily take a 7 on that hole just as well as you can take a 4. But I think the preparation going into that, the stress on the tee box isn't as high as a par five because now you have to get it down the hill when it's a par four. But now you're like, okay, I clipped a tree. Like I clipped the last tree to beat, and I got a birdie from there, and that felt good because it still like gives me that chance to go for something on my second shot. So for me personally, I think it's a great change to the par five. I think it's going to help with people's mental games. Not so much of a separator hole though, which is kind of unfortunate because, but that's all of Milo. Every hole is a separator hole.
It's very true. I think
Which one's
that's
the genius hole? Which one's that?
Wow, and he calls himself an Oregonian.
I'm sorry.
Oh
I don't
my
call myself a
god!
Portlandian. I don't live in
No,
Portland.
but it's not Portlandian. It's Oregonian thing. That genius hole is
Ah,
the kind of top of the world. Eagle would throw
gotcha.
his mid range. What?
I said I got you. Top of
Yeah.
the world.
No, there's like 3 top of
I
the
know
world
which one.
shots, but it's the big
I
one,
know which one.
par
But it was a
four.
par four though. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
so
a
they
par four one.
combined
Yeah.
it to the next basket on the island. So they combined those holes, and they called it a par four. And so a lot of people were upset about that, and they changed it to a par five last night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's good for them.
voice of the people. Well,
Voice.
what is up, everyone? Sorry for a couple minutes of tangents. We're trying to hope our special guest would arrive. Sadly, he didn't, so we have to settle for the second best MA1 player in the state, maybe third best, depending on how you look at the stats. But Sam Benson, Mr. All Day Disc Golf himself, welcome into the house. As always, Cody is playing hooky. Cody did not want to show up. He said Paige got one off in Dela. He wants one off at BSF. Next week is Cascade, and I'm sure Josh will take it off. So, no Cody, but we all know he's the worst, so don't worry about that. We have Josh qualified to eat tacos winter. And of course, your boy, your man, the voice of your dreams, Paige Hurtado is here.
It
Sam, how
gets
you been? It's
worse
been
and
a few
worse
weeks.
every week.
my my week didn't start off so great, but it's really looking up now. I'm on your guys' podcast. I got into BSF last minute. It's all
What
feeling
happened
good.
at the beginning of the week?
I got beat by you in the qualifier. That's what happened. You know what? I'll admit
Of course,
it. I
your ass
lost
to make him say
fair and
that.
square.
Damn.
That's all I had him on here. All right, Sam. It's good to see you. We can
All
have
right, see you
back
guys.
next week.
No.
No, I was super pumped to see you get in. And like I think the number one reason I was excited for you to get in is because I'm not the lowest rated person
That's
on
right.
BSF anymore.
I am.
Takes all the pressure off. All of the pressure is off now. I'm just in a place to be like my most perfect self. But
Yeah. When did you get accepted in?
3 hours ago.
Okay, because I was doing like my fantasy draft for this tournament, and whenever I like have to shuffle all the players by PDGA, it always like throw Page at the top, and then I have to reverse it. So look at that. I was just happy to see his name at the bottom. So
oh, I mean, you just said it was at the
Because-
top, so
well, I mean, in reverse. But
That's
like what I
fine.
like to see is because if you're at the bottom, or now Sam's at the bottom, and they're going to be the underdog coming in taking that dub, and we're going to.
Oh, see, this is where like Tuesday they're like, "Oh, Paige, you won it," and I was like, I got second, but I feel like there was only one prize for that tournament, and that was to qualify. So I felt like I won that tournament, and I think here my big thing, and I'll actually have to ask you, Sam, too, because we're kind of in the same boat. Like, what is your goal for this tournament going into it this weekend?
So I have two goals. The number one goal is don't embarrass myself this weekend. I'm getting in super last minute. I am definitely not mentally prepared to go into this caliber event. I've never played in this kind of field, anything like this. So it's going to be, there's a lot of stress and anxiety there. So my first goal is to just don't make a fool of myself. But honestly, my second goal is to play my game. We spoke about this, about what happened at the qualifier earlier. I got away from what I'm good at. I stopped doing what makes me successful, and I really fell off down the stretch. And so I'm going to be under a really different kind of pressure. And so as far as this tournament goes, if I finish last, I finish last. My goal is to take what I can learn from this tournament and apply it to the rest of the year, the next couple of years. And the next time I can play an event like this, I know what to do. I've been there before, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's a great mindset to have, because that was like me coming at Dela. Like, I really did my best to not think of Dela as a lost Masters Cup. Like, I didn't have the showing I wanted by any means. But I think Tuesday's qualifier was really that kind of like solidified me home of keeping that like mentality of Dela like coming on and not looking at a loss and learning from that, which helped me kind of finish strong. Like 17, there was a whole, like, when it was a par 4, I had a cross, and it's like I had a cross to try to save my bogey. So it wasn't even like, oh, I'm just tapping in a bogey. It's like I have to throw a 150 shot across this parking lot on a small green, a touch shot from Paige's awkward distance of 150 to 200, like, and that's where it's just like I kind of just took a deep breath. I was like, eventually you have to cross, Paige, so just fucking cross. And I threw it. This was perfect, and then it drops hyzers. I'm like, oh, that's the road, and it just barely scoots up, and took my bogey happily. But I think carrying those like little bit of lessons forward is huge, and being able to go to it this weekend, that's been some of my best tournaments. Is where it's like I have no expectations going in besides don't embarrass myself, have fun, and try to this is what I always like to say, like try to ruin everybody's rating, because I'm so low. If I shoot hot, it's going to ruin people's rating by at least a couple points. They're going to be like, this was a 1040 rated round, but this little effort at 955 shot the same rating. So now 1020 to 1015, like it makes a little bit of a difference. And I want to be that person right now. I want to be that person that goes in there and is like, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not. But
You are.
I'm going to play as
hard. You are.
Oh, so I'm going to say the same thing. You qualified. You played your way in. It's not like me where I'm getting in because there's a kind of a magical spot available. You won the qualifier. You earned your way in there.
Yeah.
And so I think you really got to take that and put that as a notch in your belt.
Oh, absolutely. I was telling people, like, this is my biggest accomplishment in MPO. Better than my one round at Goat Hill, better than my lead card at Pioneer Open. Like, this has been that breakthrough for me, was that qualifier on Tuesday. I'm not saying I don't belong here. I'm just saying, like, I'm not supposed to be here. If you look at the rating, if you look at these things that people give stock to in disc golf, I'm not supposed to exist on this platform. But you're right, I am, and I am here. And, like, that's my goal, is to not only, like, ruin people's rating, but to improve on that. Like, today's practice round was just that. Like, my game plan Tuesday was correct. So double down today, my practice round, and commit to that same game plan. And then tomorrow's going to be that same thing of like, see, it works. It worked Tuesday. It worked today. Now keep it going, because obviously it's a good game plan for Ramon. Is it a winning game plan? No. Like, it's not a first place game plan. It's not a lead card game plan. And that's fine. I don't need to be lead card there, because that's not what success is for me at BSF. Success for me is, can I battle cash line? Can I have a card with Kale LaVisca, Gavin Rathbun? Shout out to, the guest Gavin Rathbun on our podcast. And then Thomas, of just like not embarrassing myself in front of them and playing a good game. Can I keep pace with them? Can I throw a different shot when, Gavin Rathbun throws a mid-range 380 feet? Can I step up and throw my fairway confidently and own that? Can, when they're going for birdie on hole 2, can I take my par happily? Like, these little things, I think, is how I'm not going to embarrass myself. And it's like you're saying, like, sticking to our game plan and not getting away from ourselves, because Milo does such a good job of trying to bait you into just a little bit more. Like, hey, 400's nice, but what if you threw 410? And then you're just like, oh, nose up, hyzer stalled out. Now I'm in no man's land. Like, it does such a good job of just slow baiting you, and especially when you're like, the front 9 holes are probably my favorite stretch of that entire course, because after hole 9, you have 2 par 3s and 1 par 5, and the rest are par 4s, and you're just like trying to be baited into just like the, hey, max distance drive, not control drive, just let one rip. And that's like the difference on the waterfront one. What is that, hole 11? No, 10, sorry, hole 10, where like you on our practice round anyways went for it, flipped you over, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm tired of doing that, so I went my overstable one and hyzered out there, and it's like that. See, that little bit of bait gets you. But
No, I think you nailed it exactly right. The course, especially for players of our skill level, requires a lot of discipline, a lot of knowing what you're capable of, knowing what the percentage shot is, and executing it, because it's exactly like you said. I have no doubt in my mind that I can birdie 15 out of 18 of those holes. Does that mean it's a good play for me to try to birdie them all? No, almost definitely not. But identifying where to attack, where to play conservative, where to throw, your fairway driver rather than your distance driver, that's what this weekend is going to be all about for me. And I feel, especially after playing the course on Tuesday and knowing exactly where I made those mistakes, I feel really confident that I'm going to be able to do that, over the next 3 days.
No, absolutely. And just like you said, like pushing on that gas, because I think you had a similar mindset. I know Colin was on, I talked with him a little bit about like not knowing where the scores were. So kind of pushing outside of yourself because you didn't know where the scores were. Whereas like for me, it's just like, I had an idea, and I'm love when I'm right. It happens so much, but I still love it. Because I was talking with Colin, and I was like, I think even is going to win the qualifier. And I think he was like, no, I think 3 or 4 down is going to win it. And so for me, my whole game plan is like, I'm going to be happy shooting even. So let's shoot even best we can. And you look at my scored card, it's 1 birdie, all pars up until 17 and 18, where I ended bogey, which was unfortunate, but it's like, that was still 1 over. And it would have been even if the par 5 was a par 5. And so like my game plan was correct. My vision of it was correct. And taking trust in that. And that's the same thing with your game, right? Like not getting away from yourself, not trying to make, because that's not the stretch to make it up. 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 isn't the stretch to make it up. There's a stretch to try to go for it and have it fall apart. Maybe 18 and 16 are softer in there, but they still have teeth on it. They're still like hole 18, I threw right out of bounds. I was like, oh, this power down. We're going to have a fairway. We're going to throw a PD on hyzer. It's going to be fine. And then straight out of bounds. I'm like, okay, cool. That's how you bogey this hole. Yeah, see? We just had a Facebook user say they shot even in practice round today, taking 18 straight pars. It was pretty sick. And I think that's Milo, because you pick up 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 birdies, but you keep the pars, and then all of a sudden you're having a really good round. And I'm pretty sure that's Colin, so that's great shooting. And that's a huge improvement from Tuesday, where he was 5 over. I think you were 5 over as well, Sam.
Yeah, 5 over. I mean, Milo's the kind of course that I feel like that first stretch of 3 holes is really going to set the tone for the round.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of bad things that can happen there. You can also have some good things happen there, but those holes have some teeth. And I put myself in an early hole. I went 3 over through the first 3 holes, and I was battling the whole rest of the round. And it's a different kind of mental game. It's like you said, the end of the course is tough, but you can't forget that the beginning of the course, right? That first hole, 460 S-shape par 3, followed by a 1,200-foot par 5. That's one of the best holes in the world.
That's also one of the most difficult in the world.
Exactly.
Like, it's just like, it's a true par 5. That's what I measure all par 5s against. And people are like, oh, hey, we got this par 5 over here. I'm like, oh, it's 1,000 feet. That's like 200 feet less than our monster hole. Wait, there's no landing zone to landing zone. I can open up my arm. I was like, this isn't a par 5. This is easy. And then just like boom, boom, boom. Like I think Black Butte had like 1 or 2 par 5s that were just like that, where it's like, this isn't monster. I have a fairway to work with, and then I have another fairway to work with. Monster's like get in the optimal landing zone, to put yourself in the optimal landing zone, to put yourself in the optimal landing zone, to maybe have birdie / like par putt. Like it sets a trend. You're right. Like I think the 1-2 punch, like I think 3 is where you want to start to get a birdie or 2, but hole 1 and 2, you could easily be 2-3 over, just really down on yourself, and you can easily be even. That's kind of that range there. And so, I don't know. I think they did some. Oh, maybe. Is he freezing for you too, Sam, or is it just me?
Yeah, he's gone.
All right, he's a little bit of a carny smoke or a pothead. That's that other side of disc golf we don't talk about enough. But no, I don't know. I think they did something special with Milo Gold. I think it's something that's really important. I think looking at it, probably 2 like back-to-back weeks, we have 2 of the most storied courses. We have Masters Cup at De La Viega, and we have BSF at Milo MacIver. And these two stops, they both take the same approach, which is let's take this course, let's make it a gold level layout. And in making this gold level layout, we're going to find a way to highlight our courses to the utmost, right? To this is De La hard. This is Milo hard and difficult, but the flavor's still there. And I'm kind of curious to see what you thought about that. If more courses should do that, because I think it speaks testaments to the game. Like the old golf is great, and it just looks different now, but it's still that same old golf feeling. But do more courses need to do this? Do you like this? How do you want to see? Or what are your take on it?
Yeah, so that's a really tough question to answer because I love Milo. Milo's my favorite course that I've ever played. It's the place that I could play that there every single day of the week, no problem. I really like what they did with the gold layout. I think they took a really difficult proposition of making kind of a course with that kind of history harder and more up to the level of expected on tour these days. And I think they did a really good job with that, of course, in my opinion. But the biggest thing that they did is they didn't lose the character of what Milo is. You play that course and you're like, this is what Milo feels like. It's exactly like you said. It's just Milo harder than it was before. You don't have those simple par 3s where you can really confidently say, I'm going to birdie this hole. You have, I think, the shortest par 3 on the entire course is over 360 feet, and it's through a tight, low ceiling gap. As far as can you do this to other courses, I think that's really tricky. You know, at Milo, we have the luxury of having 2 18-hole layouts. You can pick and choose the best. You can combine holes. You have a lot of space to work with. I don't think that's easy to do at other courses. We've already seen it start to happen with Blue Lake, where the tour has gone to a point where I have a lot of respect for Blue Lake as a course. I'm not sure it's a tour level course anymore, and I'm not really sure what you do to make it into one again. Even though, you know, Worlds was held there, there's that infamous Paul versus Ricky showdown. There's a lot of history there.
There's the Eagle Jew showdown. There's
exactly
all of these things. Like there's a story course. Even last year was a story tournament, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think the moment you get away from Blue Lake, I don't think we're going to go back on the Pro Tour level. Not because I don't think it deserves it, but just because, like you're saying, like I don't know what they could do to continue to keep pace with the level of pro in their development. Like it's not just 10 people anymore that are shutting the course. It's 40, 50 people that are within a few strokes of each other all the way down. And like, I love Milo or Blue Lake. Blue Lake's my home course, but you're absolutely right. I think there's just a little bit of pacing issue there. Does it have teeth? Absolutely. But I think kind of looking at some of these courses, but I think at least leaves a question to being able to, like, what could be done in answering that question. Could you split hole 7 into 2 really good par 3s and then combine a hole somewhere else and then have a really cool par 4 and doing things like that? And I think that's what Milo did when you have like the Mad Genius hole, where it went from the Genius to normal 18. They created the Mad Genius hole, and all of a sudden, like they thought like, oh, the pros are gonna like this as part of it. This is what I didn't like, or what was tough about Masters Cup was they didn't listen to all the people that are like, this isn't a par 4. This is a par, or this isn't a par 3, this is a par 4, like hole 1. Everyone was saying that, and everyone was upset. So when people bogeyed it, they'd walk away pissed. This is where I'm talking about the mental game changing. But what I love about our TDs here at BSF is they asked, and then they changed it last minute. Some people might say it looks unprofessional, but they were willing to change it. And I think willing to be humble in some of these approaches, try something new, but also don't make it the same old thing. Because one of the interesting facts about Milo is it's 40 feet shorter than OTB. But all of the shots and all of the up shots are variables. They're all different. They're not just the same. Oh, here's the same throw far, take my birdie. Throw far, take my birdie. What it is usually a straight shot, kind of power 380 to 450, and then a different, unique approach shot, which I think is something more of the Pro Tour needs to look at. I think they need to look at these par 4s and being like, how can we adjust the viewership of this and make it something different so it's not just bomb? It's because there are mid-ranges holes here. There are putter hole up shots. There are forehand up shots. There are big distance up shots. There's the whole gambit of them and shapes. Like, not only do I have to have a stall hyzer, I have to have a stall and hyzer. I have to have a stall forehand and things that aren't widely seen. So I think when we look at what courses can change, it should be looking at some of what Milo has done to keep pace, because it's not that they just added distance, and because they added distance, it's hard. They truly care about each and every one of their shots, and I think it's going to show this weekend.
So you mentioned combining holes as something courses should look at in terms of maybe, can you split a hole up? Can you combine other holes? Can you put in a new hole somewhere else? We already talked about one of the combined holes at BSF. What's your opinion on the other, hole 15?
I love it. I think it's it rewards the people that can hit that shot really well off the tee, that big anhyzer that's panning. I saw some people where I was like, oh, nobody's going to get, like, this is what I was saying last week, right? I was like, nobody's going to get to this tee box of the normal hole. But there were. People are parking that basket more than I've ever seen. People are pushing past it. They're getting aggressive. And I think it rewards them. But it also rewards players like you and myself that aren't going for the birdie. We can chip a forehand down, throw a big hyzer out, and then throw a straight shot in and take our par. And so for what I like about that is you're rewarding the players that have that skill set. You're creating an opportunity for people, and very slim margins. It's not an easy par. They're very slim margins to par, but you have a design that par is doable. But you're also going to punish those people that maybe think they're like that kind of Icarus flew too close to the sun, where they're like, oh, I can do this turnover. Let me do it. And then they're in trouble. You're going to punish those people that think they can go for the second shot and can't. And that's where that separation is going to come from, because people are going to be like, they might land, they might execute, right? Like, oh, if you step up and you throw your buzz and you just hit it perfectly, you might be so far up there that you feel the pressure to go for it. And then all of a sudden you went from potentially birdie to bogey because you let it off too early, or you pushed it too straight, or you didn't commit, or. So I really love that combined hole. I don't think it's gimmicky, and I don't think it's gimmicky because you have that par option, which takes skill to par. But I love it. What do you think?
I completely agree. I think you really nailed it on the head with your analysis there. I think of it the exact same way. I think if you had to throw that big perfect turnover, even to have a shot at par, I think that's where you start getting into problems with that hole. But you don't. You can chip a forehand around the corner. You can chip a turnover around the corner, and you can easily par. Or I've seen footage both on Tuesday and from some shots on Instagram of people throwing big rollers and getting looks at the basket. I don't think it's an unfair hole in any terms. I think it's a difficult birdie for sure, but there's some people I've heard out there that are saying, oh yeah, there's going to be like 3 birdies on this hole the entire weekend. I don't agree with that at all. And I know with my skill set, if I really tried, I could probably get a birdie look this weekend. Am I going to? No, because that's not a smart play. Because that brings 5 and 6 and 7 into play if you mess up that tee shot. But it's there.
I was hearing people talk about turning around on the tee pad and going up the other fairway, and getting looks that way, and I was like, I think that sounds great. But the moment you clip something, you're going to be in the worst possible position on that green. And it's not like a 7 from there. You're looking at 8, 9s. You're looking at just like, why did I do this shot? And I like that because you're going to get somebody that does that this weekend. That's like, hey, I know I could go up this fairway, but it's just fun. So let me try this shot. And they're going to remind their entire world why that's not the smart play to do. But yeah, I think it's a great hole, and I'm one of those people that were hesitant when they first combined it because I played that hole a few times, just casually, where like, hey guys, let's just combine these two holes or whatever. There's rumors that are circulating that this is going to happen, so let's pretend to try it. And I didn't like it until what you said, where it's just like, I'm just going to chip a forehand down there, and it doesn't even need to be around the corner. You can literally put it straight into the tall grass to the left and still par from there, which is like, it's great, but you're gonna get people that want to bite off more than they can chew, and that's why I'm telling you, that's Milo to me. Milo's just like a little bit more, and then you're gonna be punished. Like, if you're playing safe, like, I feel like the trees part for you when you're doing the right thing, but the moment you're not, they're just like, haha, get through this. And it's different. It's difficult. It's a great course. I know. I'm sorry, guys. I know we're talking a lot about Milo and BSF. We both qualified up top. We're the qualifiers. Down below, he's the caddy of the century. He's going to drive up from Eugene tomorrow and caddy for me. So I appreciate that, Josh.
Am I still frozen?
No, you're not. You're talking.
You tell me.
But what were you going to ask before you rudely cut yourself off?
I was saying that monster hole, it's like it's the epitome of Milo wanting you to push a little bit more, and it will show its teeth so fast. Because if you just hit your landing zones, you can get down there without a problem. It's trying to take a little bit too much, because Milo's a lot about placement shots to play a really good round there. It's kicked my ass many times.
I think taking your medicine and capitalizing when you can capitalize. When you get I think it's rewarding every time you get like, hey, I might be able to birdie from here. And then it's like, do you have the stones to do it? Like West Hole 1, like normal West Hole 1 from last year. It's the par 4. You have to cross the street. I think I did a practice round with Sam. He threw like a 330 shot, parked it, and I was like, so it forced me to want to do that. I tried it, rolled my wrist, threw it into stinging nettle. Was terrible. The qualifier, I knew I didn't have that. So I got in the same little side. I pitched it up, but then I still had to cross the road. And that's the thing with Milo. It's like, you still got to do this thing. No matter though you laid it up like you're supposed to, you still got to execute. And so I got scared. And instead of trusting my shot, I pulled my putter. Like I pulled it and it drifted right. And I'm like, fuck, there's a bogey. There's my first bogey of the day. And I'm like, no, fuck it, Paige. Like, run this shit. And I had like an 80-foot putt. Like nutted it. That's where I was like just feeling like a god that day. And it just hit an 80-foot putt for par. Bailed myself out and didn't let that impact me. But it's so like, you're right. Like, it could just be like, well, you have a 330-foot shot. You can throw a mind bender here. You can throw a hex here. You can throw a forehand here. But then do you have what it takes to do that? And that's just like, sometimes I find myself wanting, like, no, I don't. Yeah. Let me just do. But then it's not safe play. There's no easy like layup. Like, all right, I'm just going to do this just so I can do this and then get on. That's not Milo, because eventually you got to cross the road. Eventually you got to throw it onto the island. Eventually you got to progress on this fairway. There's no just bing, 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 par. And I feel like some courses are like that.
Yeah, Milo's like worked out one of my tournament aces.
Yeah, you did. And that hole's taken out. How do you feel about that? So it's not even really like you got an ace at Milo anymore. It doesn't exist.
It's gone? Really?
They took it out for the tournament. Just for this tournament.
Oh, it's like it never existed? Sweet.
Yeah, so like it never existed. When people think Milo now, they're going to think this weekend moving forward. And you're going to be like, hey, you're going to tell some random buddy across the way, like in Maryland or something. You're going to be like, hey, Cody, guess what? I aced that Milo. He's like, which hole? I haven't pulled up. And they're never going to be able to see that hole.
I'll show you I have it. I'm going to show everyone can see it so they know that Paige is a fucking liar.
No, it just doesn't exist in this day and age.
Oh, this.
Yeah, see?
Oh, that's a cool hole to get.
Yeah, it was a crazy shot. It was fun. It was a hyzer flip, just right in that left line and then around the corner right in. It was fun.
Yeah, I like how you had that queued up. I feel like you're just waiting for that.
Always. No, getting stuff to share is pretty easily. You should also check the private chat, bro.
Oh, there's nothing in private chat.
Oh, there is.
No, there's not. Oh, we'll worry about that when we worry about that. Sorry guys. I know Josh is talking shit about you in private chat, but
yeah,
that's between hosts. And Sam.
So when is the Portland Open? Is that in 2 weeks?
2 weeks. They make a stop, and this is the other thing we talked about. De La, Milo, they're going to Shelton for an A tier, and they changed that layout. They changed that layout from the blacks to like this gold layout up there. Some of the holes are staying the same, obviously, but some of them are going to be new tee pads in. So that's 3 weeks, 3 big tournaments in a row, A tier, silver, A tier, that have changed their layout in order to make it a little bit harder. I think I was telling Josh this beforehand, but I think Milo's great. Like the 27, I think is always a great layout. It's a blast. I think it's going to be one of those people that are one of those tournaments where any skill level can come and experience Milo and get a birdie or two, and that feels good. And I'm glad that that's a layout that's in there. I'm glad that's where I played Milo. But this Milo Gold, I feel like where I'm at, and it's going to be like, the better you get, the less company you keep. But if we can figure out how to keep this gold layout in a little bit, like I think that's going to be huge for my development as a player, because I think playing this kind of golf moving forward, I think is really important to at least how my game is. I feel like how I envision my game, Milo is this right now, and I feel like I'm playing my best golf ever. And I was like, how do I keep this going? Because I don't want to go back to the 27 hole layout because it's not the same. It's not the same game to me. But yeah, I mean, that's what I have to say, guys. You guys can sit there in silence.
When you're talking about the chain or how Blue Lake, that they use that for the Portland Open, right? Blue Lake.
No, both sides of Glendoveer this year.
What was that?
Both sides of Glendoveer. It's all Glendoveer this year.
So they don't move at all. They're just all there.
It's all there. Both sides. So you have the side where KJ had his famous rollaway. Hashtag shout out Henry. Ran into him today. He's a great kid. He was on KJ's bag when he rolled away. He's the one that told KJ to run it. So Henry, I love the kid. And then so that was where last year was the east side. Or no, last year was the west side. The year KJ rolled away was the east side, and they're combining them this year, or not combining them. Anyways, 2 sides. We're playing 2 sides this year.
Let me help you out there, Paige. So the first year at Glendoveer, they played the west side. That's where KJ rolled away. Last year, they played the east side. From what I understand, the east side layout is being tweaked, but it's mostly the same as what they played last year. Some things are different. Some baskets are moved. I think some tee pads are moved, stuff like that, which is great. I've got to play that layout last year. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done for being on a golf course. What I've heard about the west side is only a little bit, and I've heard that it's been totally redesigned from the ground up.
And I played the west side, at least for the ones that have been opening for the weekends, and I'm sure they'll modify it a little bit. It plays easier. It plays a lot easier than the east side. But they've been modifying it as they go, and I think they've been opening it up maybe once or twice a month, for people to come out and play it, and then they've been modifying it from there. But it's flatter. There's not so much elevation change like the east side has, and a little bit more par 3s. I personally like the east side a lot better. I think it's just beautiful golf, whereas the other side, like they're using more of the trees, kind of carving through the woods, those type of shots. So we'll see if they keep it that way. But
I'm excited I'm going to get the opportunity to play both courses. I'm also playing in the Portland Open qualifier that week, and so I'm really excited to go out there again.
You're going to get beat by me for the qualifier again?
Hey, that time there's 4 qualifier spots, so I'll have a better chance of getting
shit! Well, I mean, you were the 5th one this time, so we'll get you up
there. Hey, we don't need to talk about that anymore. I'm in the tournament, okay?
You are in the tournament, and I'm glad you're in the tournament.
Oh, they're using the Blue Lake for the amateur tournament that weekend. I see.
Are they?
Yeah, it looks like Portland Open June.
Did they move
2nd
it?
to
Because I thought
5th.
the M side was on. They're using Glendevere as well during the week, though, right?
I know they have
Um,
2 AM flex starts at Glendevere.
Yeah, it's just the flex starts.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe not. I hope they don't, because I really want to play it when I go up there.
Glendevere?
No, the Blue Lake.
Oh, in the tournament?
No, I just want to play it.
Oh, you just want to play it?
yeah. I'm going to Portland
All right.
Open to go watch the Portland Open, and I want to go play Blue Lake.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they don't
No.
use it, because last year they used what Amside had, Pier Park.
Pier Park? No, yeah, Pier Park, Dabney, and Glendevere.
Okay.
I know I said that we didn't have Blue Lake in the M side.
Yes,
But
I'm sorry. I don't even know if they even have an Amside this year.
speaking of M
Except
side,
for the-
there was a huge A tier that happened. Probably all of the best amateurs in the state showed up. Sam, our glorious co-host and guest, lost, but he was on coverage.
I was on coverage.
He got second. We're supposed to have
Oh,
Dallas
nice.
on here, talking about his big win, but he's not here, so we don't need to talk about that. We want to talk about Sam's big push. He did not set himself up for success day one at Pier Park. He was like 6 strokes back.
More than that.
More than that. He did not set himself up very well at all. But he had a huge day at Dabney, shooting what, a 10-20 rated round? 10-30?
10-15 came out.
10-15.
It dropped a little.
Okay,
10,
I was
15
yeah.
rate.
So
Nice.
10-15 rated round to battle back, and shot the hot round on coverage for Gatekeeper Media at Blue Lake to solidify a second place finish, which I think was huge when you had that deficit, because, and I think it's huge for 2 reasons. When you have that deficit, it's hard to make that battle, but Sam has been battling, like, he's not one of those person that was known for like, oh, let me put together a super hot round and battle back into contention. And we've talked about this before, because that's kind of where like me and Dallas kind of got him from, right? Where we're like, oh, we can put together that 10-20 rated round and catch you and beat you, and you're going to be upset and disheartened or whatever. And so I know one of the reasons Sam stayed at MA1 was because he wanted to get some of that success of winning, but also to kind of learn that style. And so for me, this A tier was so huge, like for Sam anyways, because he did that. He put himself in a deficit and he found a way to shoot hot round, and get right back into that mix. And just lost to a kid who was playing out of his mind. Like I don't think most pros could have beat that kid that weekend with how good he was playing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, Dallas averaged something like 10-17 for the weekend. That's just an insane performance across those 3 courses. I exactly like you said, I did not have a good day at Pier Park. Pier Park is not a course that I play super well. It doesn't really play to my strengths, in my opinion. But I fought back really well at Dabney, and then kind of did the same thing at Blue Lake, honestly. I started really bad, started +3 through 3 again, and then played the rest of the course 5 down to come back and shoot the hot round on the card. I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of, if you look at the tournament as a whole, Dallas beat me by a lot. But if we remove Pier Park, where Dallas beat everyone by a lot, I was the best player in the tournament over the last 2 rounds. And I take a lot of progress in my game about that. Because it's exactly like you said, Paige. Last year, 6 months ago, I couldn't do that. I couldn't go out and shoot a 10-15 rated second round after having kind of a dud the first round. I couldn't come back and fight my way back into contention and take, a podium finish. And that's something that I really took a long look at what I was doing, and then thought a lot about what you both were doing when you were capable of doing that, and adjusted my game
I'm still
plan.
capable of not win. I'm still capable of that.
Hey, we've seen a lot of your second rounds this year, Paige. That's all I'm
How about
saying.
my first?
So.
I'm saying I put together hot rounds. It's my second rounds are garbage. Because I do so good round 1. How do you top that in round 2? And I can't. And I'll fall short. But anyways, semantics. I just wanted you to know I'm still capable. It's still in me somewhere. And it's going to show you this weekend.
No, I agree. You've been playing really, really well this year, and it's been. I'm very happy for you. was cool to see. I know there's some parts of last year where you were really struggling with the process of the game, so it's been cool to see you put it together a lot more this year.
We're talking about you, not me. My ego's already big enough right now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But no, I do
It's
appreciate
always
that
too
because oh, it is. That's where I was like, I was in a chat today, and they're like, "Oh, Pidge, you won this qualifier. You got this." Blah blah. I'm like, dude, I gotta keep myself humble because the moment my head gets big, I'm gonna step up to hole one. Like, I can park this, and take a bogey. But no, and like I said, I love to see it because that's what I think it takes to be successful, and like especially MA1, you should put together hot round after hot round, and people aren't catching you. Like Dallas shot 9 down at Pier Park. That's absolutely insane. Like I don't care what the layout is, 9 down at Pier Park. That's not heard of. That's not a common occurrence. So to do that in tournament with no circle 2 putts is
No
huge.
circle 2 putts and 1 missed 20-footer.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we all know that kid's special, but I think you're just right there with him. Like, and I told you this before, I feel like you're the most consistent player there. I think when you decide, and you have decided to move up to MPO, I think you're going to find a really nice home for you because that consistency is going to continue to pay off. Like for me, I'm still that same explosive to kind of deflating to explosive athlete, which has got me some great. That's why I can win a qualifier because it's 1 round. It's like I just got to put 1 round together. Nothing else matters, and I can do that. But when it comes down to it, I'm still very much an explosive athlete in that regard of being like Goat Hill, 10-15, 10-20 rated round, followed by 900 rated round, followed by middle of the pack of where I should have been. And a lot of times I'm just like, if I could just sit in that middle of the pack, and I've gotten better at it, and I'm getting better at it, but I have that hard time keeping myself in that ratio. And I think you do that really well. So with you moved up to MPO, like I am really excited for that because I think you're going to find that rhythm that you like so much to be good. And I know, so I'm going to keep hyping you up, but I think for me, the biggest misconception that I hear with people training for MPO is like, you need to get used to winning before you come up to MPO. And what I'm starting to take away from being MPO at least this long, you don't necessarily need to get used to that winning because that's going to come few and far between. What you need to get used to doing is putting your best foot forward and keeping that best foot forward no matter what. And I think that's a different mindset, at least for me, and that's what I've been trying to do. And I think that's something that you do so well. But yeah. So kudos to Sam. No follow up
over here. I've been over here just digging on the internet, looking to see if they're actually going to do. So it doesn't look like they're going to do a amateur tournament except for 2 flex starts.
That's it.
Yep.
Nobody.
That's it.
So the rumor mill was that nobody wanted to TD or tournament direct it, and because nobody wanted to do it, they kind of like this was delayed. This only came out like a month ago was the flex starts, if that. Yeah, and they were just like, "This is what we're gonna do." You technically this year you can win PDX AmSide twice. You can play both West and East flex start. It's the same day. You can win it twice. So that's gonna be my goal this year is to be the double champ. It's the only way I can be. So Colin's the final Am champ, and I'm gonna be the double Am champ.
Ooh.
Or.
But Colin won by a lot last year.
Oh, Colin did a great job.
Colin played great last year.
Yeah. I think it was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's the final Am champ because I think that's the final, at least so far. We don't know what next year's going to look like, but that's the final PDX Open Am side tournament was last year. This year's 2 flex starts that aren't going to have the big trophy, aren't going to have, all of these things. And so I'm going to be the first double time champ. And it's not going to mean as much as Colin's win, and that's fine.
Well, I'm stoked that they're not doing it personally. It sucks for all you tournament grinders, but as somebody who's going to go watch the Portland Open, I have so many more courses open to me now, and I don't get to play the Portland courses. So suck it, everyone.
No, and I think it's. I mean, you see, like even BSF, like amateur weekend is what 3 or 4 weeks from now, or 4 or 5 weeks from now.
Yeah, it's in the middle of June.
And it's not the gold layout. It's the full 36. Ours at the 27.
It's the full 36. I believe it's 2 rounds east, 1 round west.
So it's like, but it's like, yes, it's called Beaver State Fling, but I feel like more and more doing that. Masters Cup had the week before. I think that's just kind of the way that they're transitioning. I think even Vegas had rumors that they're going to split the amateur weekend from the Masters or the pro weekend, and it was supposed to be that like this was it this year or last year, because they're supposed to have the conference, the Infinite Discs like conference convening all this like hype. So it's like amateur was supposed to be like that weekend, and then the pro tour, but then Infinite didn't do it. It didn't fire. No word from it since. But then yeah. So I don't know. I think that's kind of the direction that they're going. There's going to be more separation between am side and pro side, which is unfortunate because I think the big thing is like, I think the pros should want an am side tournament there because those are people that are going to be buying their discs. There are people that are going to stay there and support them on top of just normal gallery members, you know? I don't know.
Got a question here. Any guess on what 1,000 rate round will be?
I think one down.
At Mila Gold.
Yeah.
I was gonna say 1 down
That's
is
what I just said.
1,000 as well. I was debating. Is it 2 now that hole 17's a par 5?
I think 1 down still gets 1,000 rated. I don't think it's that easy of a layout. I think 990 par feels good. Like I said, like I was playing lights out on Thursday and getting +1, which would be even. I feel like is that kind of like 990 1,000 rating, especially when you have like how many people like on Tuesday where like there's even in one won it, and that's normally what wins this kind of like C tier level event. And so I think even's 1,000 or 1 down's 1,000, and I think even's going to be like that 990. 1 over is probably going to be like 980.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. It's hard for me to compare what my round felt like versus what it's actually gonna score. I mean, because like I think about the field, right? I watched coverage from OTB. We've seen coverage on wide open layouts where you need to throw big distance shots, and we talked about it earlier, right? Milo's gonna bait you into wanting to throw these shots, but the top caliber players have plenty of control even throwing 500 plus feet, that they're going to be able to do those and get birdie looks on a lot of these holes where a player like you and I it's not really feasible. I mean, I think even 1 down is going to be around 1,000, but I think there's going to be players that are going to be pushing double digits with 17 now being a par 5 as the hot round.
I agree with that. I think the hot round was going to be 10 down before the change, and I think 11 down is going to be that change. I think you can have like 11, 10, and then 9, 9 kind of being that like lead card. And I think it's that because I think you're right. There'll be holes that we don't birdie. Like hole 2, pros are going to like the top level pros are going to find a way to birdie that hole, and we're not. But I think our best like hole that we can do is like 4, 5 down maybe. Like I shot 4 down today, feeling like I was playing absolutely on fire, like to the point where I was like, guys, I need to miss. I'm playing too good. Like I don't know what's going on. Why am I so good right now? Like I need to save it for tomorrow. That is how I was playing. And the pros, like I think they can get to 10 down and 11 down. I have a hard time thinking they can get really past that because there's still even holes I feel like out of the whole 18 that are going to give them a little bit of teeth, that are going to, like I think, what is it? The one before West hole 1, the little candy cane, that 450 up the hill.
Yeah.
That one, I think people are going to think they can go for it, and they should be able to with the high gap, hyzer stall. I watched Aaron Gossage birdie it on Brody's thing. But that birdie to bogey ratio that they're going to do is like they birdie it one day, then like go bogey and then par it, and we're going to make up the strokes because we're averaging par on that all 3 days. I think that's going to happen and keep people just kind of limited. I don't think it's going to be deep double digits, but I think they're going to just touch it at 10 and 11 down, and there's only going to be a few of them. I don't think there's going to be that vast of everyone just showing up.
Ooh,
which pro do you see having the best skill set to have the hot round for the course? And when it says you, it's talking about Sam.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying there's 3 people that pick 6 me for this weekend, so I guess I'm letting it go to my head a little bit. Just Sam?
That's a really good question, honestly, as to who has the best skill set to attack this course. My mind honestly first goes to a player like AB, as someone who's gonna have the distance. Say what you will, he's been playing real good this season.
Yeah,
And
he
I
has.
think
I think
this is the type of course he can really attack.
I just don't think that's his kind of like game set is this, because he uses a lot of fairway. This is keep it tight and then pushing. I think I just really liked Goose on Brody's thing. The way he's looking, his backhand is coming out firing. Somebody that's known for their forehand to have some of those shots. I think he has a great lineup. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Eagle McMahon is here, who's won it a few
Yeah.
times in the past, and has the game for it. Even minus his forehand, he has the game for it. Especially how he's throwing those like mid ranges 400 feet. If he can just go mid range on every hole, it's gonna be hard pressed to beat that guy. I think those, like I said, I got pick 6 3 times, so I have a chance of winning it because clearly 3 people believe in me, and that's all I need to be successful in life.
No, I think Eagle's a great call. You know, Eagle, McMahon, and Oregon is always going to be dangerous, but he's been streaky this year. I could see him come out and
Yeah.
blowing the field away. I could also see him come out and miss cash.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think there's
I
a higher
think-
chance of missing cash on this one, personally.
I don't.
I mean, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I think there's a higher chance of hitting cash, but 15, 20, 20th place.
Yeah, but Milo's the great course where you're gonna have like a Garrett Gerthy that just comes out of nowhere, shoots hot, and wins it like last year. And I think that was huge win for him. Eagle early on in his career when he won it was a huge step forward for him. And I think Milo finds ways to shine a light on some of these stats. I actually see a Casey White come in and just popping off and dominating. Like I think,
Or a Paul
Shine-
Ulibarri.
no, he has no chance out here.
No, he does. I feel like this is going to be his tournament. I think you two are going to battle it up into the end. And, what if Paige plays alongside Paul? How would that
Well,
play out?
I did see Paul today, and I looked him dead in his eyes, and I needed him to know that I was talking shit about him, but I wanted to do it through looks. I didn't want to do it through voice, and he had no fucking idea. And so when he turned to Ray, threw his shot, I'm like, "Yeah, walk away, bitch," and he did. He walked away up the fairway, and I threw the other hole. So that's my Paul Ulibarri story today.
But what are you going to do? What are you going to do if it comes down to you and Paul, lead card, final round? You guys are like, you're pushed away from the field about 5,
I'm
7
gonna-
strokes.
I'm gonna
Tied
have a
going
buddy,
18.
Oksana Bayul, so I win. Is that before your time,
Oh.
Sam? I know you're young.
Yeah, probably.
Disc
Honestly.
golf boxing session against Paul Ulibarri, and Paige. I would pay that. See that.
Yeah, it's Ulibarri, guys. When you have no respect for people, you mispronounce their name. I gained a lot of respect for Manny, so I learned his last name.
Yeah.
Um,
And that that's why
That's the difference.
I put you on my fantasy this week. I put Paige or Tafo. I don't know, something like that. I don't know. I don't have the respect.
Potato.
I don't have the respect, so I didn't learn it. It's gonna be okay.
Also, Paul's taller than I give him credit for. I didn't realize how tall he was.
I still
like-
like get over seeing AB for the first time in person.
Oh, I saw him. It was that whole crew, that like Discraft group of like
Mhm.
Hamas, like AB, Paul. There was a couple other people. His caddy was cute. Just sitting on his thing, trying to talk shit. I was like,
AB
yeah,
is
but-
crazy tall.
yeah, they
I
all
was so
are.
surprised.
We were like, because I was playing with a couple buddies, and we're like, yeah, we're just not built like that. They're just built different. Like,
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm 5'10", like barrel chested kind of guy, and these guys are like 6'6", like maybe 140 pounds soaking wet, just
Absolute twigs.
all sinew, just sinew. All ligaments and sinew.
Yeah, but then you got people like Garrett Gerthy,
Emerson Keith is a good example.
Emerson Keith surprises the hell out of me. How well
I don't
he
think
can
it was him. I don't think he won that tournament. I think Ari won him that tournament. That's how good of a caddy she is, and that's why Ricky is so successful. Is because of her.
Ooh.
Just though,
Ooh.
woo! That
Okay. Can I give a hot take for a
is-
second?
absolutely.
Yes.
I don't think Emerson won that tournament last weekend. I think
just said
Gossage.
that.
I think Gossage lost it
Yeah.
For sure.
Ooh.
for sure. I think he collapsed down the stretch, and that's the only reason I wouldn't pick him to win this weekend at Milo. I think he's got the skill set, but I don't know. It's hard to watch that happen. It's the same reason why I wouldn't pick Cole to win this weekend. I think Cole absolutely has the skill set and he knows the course. But watching the front nine of the final round last week, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's
But he
why it's like
didn't
he
have-
keeps putting himself in that position. Like same thing with Proctor. I think Proctor would be a good pick too, of just continuing to put themselves in that position, so that when the time is right, it's going to click. That's how you learn these things. That's the same thing with
Oh,
you. Like when was your first win, right? How many times were you almost there, and then Paige beat you, and then Dallas beat you, and then Colin beat you, and then Paige beat you again, and then finally Paige moved up and you won one without him. And like sometimes it takes. I think Goose put himself in that situation last week. I think he has a skill set to be good here, and he's going to put himself in that situation again. And like Cole, I think is a great pick. If you're looking for a sleeper pick that isn't Paige, I think Cole's a great pick on this one. Chris Nelson is another great one. Chris Nelson plays Milo so freaking well, and he has historically, and so two Oregonians that I do highly recommend on your pick six.
Yeah, and I think people forget that Chris Nelson was on lead card at last year's BSF. He absolutely has the skill set and the knowledge of the cores to pop off.
But because they failed
But-
once, they're going to fail again. Sam, is that what Sam Benson? is
No,
saying?
I'm just saying. Look, when it comes to that, because I've been there myself, and I can only take from my own experiences. I have seen that in other sports, in golf, played a lot of golf, seen the exact same thing, and I want to see them do it before I'm going to pick them to clutch that kind of situation.
Yeah,
Because
no, and I
there's
think
some
you're right
people
because
that just don't get over the line.
no matter what they try, and you're right. There was a time, like even like last year, I didn't think I was going to win an MA1 tournament until like middle of the year, towards the end of the year, and then when I popped off early, it was hard to capitalize on that. That's the same thing that's worrying about me in my MPO. It's like I was expecting to do this well, and then I crossed that line, and it's like you're absolutely right. There's this real like pivotal like moment, and you know, basketball is one we continue to reference. There's the people like a Jimmy Butler who's making a deep push right now, but he hasn't crossed that threshold, and he'd be hard pressed to not be one of the greatest shooting guards of all time. But because there's so many good ones that have crossed that threshold, it's always going to be kind of like that bridesmaid, never a bride aspect of it. And so I can get you with there, but I think Cole can break through at any time. Like I think he's doing what some of the other Oregonians haven't been able to do. He's finding success on that big stage, and I think it's just a matter of time, because you have like one of the winningest pros ever in Scott Withers, who's had very limited success outside of Oregon on that tour, and Cole's finding a way to break through that. And I think Scott, don't get me wrong, I think Scott's battling, and he's obviously a pick for this weekend as well, because hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. I mean, he's on the feature card, and I know he's going to do everything he can because Oregon is his home to get himself on that feature card, on that lead card. So Scott is another one to keep an eye out for, Chris Nelson. But yeah, Cole's doing what some of these pros haven't done, which is transferring his game onto a bigger scale. So I think it's a matter of time for that. Proctor, same thing. So I think you're wrong, Sam, about that. But I think you're right about the sentiment.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, if Cole can find a way to win either this weekend or in a couple weeks at the Portland Open, the crowd is going to go absolutely insane for the local guy to pull out
I think so.
the W.
Especially because he earned that feature card spot this year. Through his success, he earned to be on that feature card, and I think that's huge. We have another question from Facebook user.
This one right here.
I don't know. I just
So this was kind of already addressed earlier, but we can bring it up again. So here's a question I have to MA/FA. Do you win before you move up to FPO or MPO? Did that backwards, but yes.
So I won just a little tournament called the Oregon State Championships and decided that I should move up.
I cannot fucking stand you sometimes.
What are you talking about, Josh? It's just a little tournament.
It's just your head just gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
there's,
little
like, no
tournament, gimmicky
No
course,
room.
you know.
I think these are all varying like topics that are kind of individually based. I think talking with Sam earlier on this podcast, I made a good point of being like a lot of people say that you need to learn how to win before you move up, and I've been trying to challenge that more and being like you need to learn how to put your best step forward and then move up. And if that means you're the most consistent 960 rated player that has never won, then that's fine. Move up so that consistent 960 turns into a consistent 980, turns into a consistent 990, because eventually if you keep doing that, these tournaments are going to be won. And I think Sam proves that based off his consistency, to where it's just like, okay, cool, everyone is doing this and he's doing this. And that's a dangerous place to be, especially when you're looking at how hard it is to win a tournament here in Oregon. Being able to win 3 or 4 tournaments, a huge step. It's huge success. Winning one is huge. But finding, and this is just for me, right? So when you move up to MPO and FPO, finding what success actually means to you, finding what you're trying to gain from that move up is important, because sometimes people feel pressure to move up. But Sam showed me like no matter how much I pressured him because I wanted him to move up, he still stayed down at MA1. Dallas, the same thing. I pressured Dallas a lot to move up, and he's still staying down at MA1. And they're having that success, and I'm having some of these struggle tournaments, but it pays dividends to elsewhere, right? Like Sam is talking about, he hasn't played this level of field at Milo, so he doesn't want to embarrass himself. Well, I moved up a little bit sooner, so playing a Goat Hill, playing a Masters Cup has given me some of this depth of the field to where I'm not worried about embarrassing myself in front of these people anymore, because I've already done that. Now I'm worrying about impressing them, and how cool would it be if I put one together and Rathbun's like, hey, you know what, Paige? Next time I'm on your podcast, we're going to talk about this. Like, those are those little things that excite me, because I moved up just a little bit before Sam. Sam's definitely going to get there, because I think everyone is kind of been where he's at. I'm still where I'm at. Like, I'm begging for a caddy this weekend because I'm like, my card is so fucking stacked. Like, I need somebody to help keep me like sane and sober. So those are my thoughts about moving up after like into MPO and FPO. I know Sam has like alternating views, and Josh.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll just go real quick, and what I'll say is that I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all solution to this. I think kind of like what you said, you have to think about what are you trying to get out of staying in MA1 or moving up to MPO or FA1 and FPO. What are you trying to gain? Are you trying to play against higher quality of competition? Are you trying to win tournaments? Are you trying to be the guy and learn how to handle the pressure of being the guy? Are you trying to learn to handle the pressure of having that stacked field, those super good players? And honestly, like, it's a different answer for everyone. For me, I stayed in MA1 for most of the first half of this year. I split my time about 50-50 between MA1 and MPO in the first half of this year. And really, yeah, I played okay, get out of here, Paige. But no, the reason I did that is for two things. One, I couldn't win a big event in MA1 at all last year. I just couldn't do it. One of the goals I wanted to do this year is win a bigger event. I did that early in the season, right? I won Santiam. That was
huge event.
My big win of in MA1. From that point on, I was still playing MA1 tournaments because I didn't want to play MPO because I was trying to keep my amateur status to play AM majors. Now, things changed, life happens, and I'm not going to be able to play any of the amateur majors, hence why I'm going to play out the string on the MA1 A tiers I'm signed up for and play MPO only after that. But it's kind of a different thing. For me, I knew I had to win to feel comfortable moving up for myself personally, but I don't think you have to. There's plenty of people who either won a small C tier or didn't win at all, jumped straight to MPO, and are doing great, right? It's different for every single person that's out here. That's my path, and now I'm at the point where I'm ready to start doing MPO full time and battling with Paige again. I've missed it, honestly. I'm ready to lose some more, Paige.
I'm ready to keep taking your money. No, and I think the conversation changes for FPO. I do want to hear some of your thoughts around that, but I think FPO, you definitely have to learn how to win as a FA1 because your fields are going to be like, and I hate to, like, they're just smaller, right? They're 8, they're 12, they're 4, and being able to put yourself in contention that way and learn how to battle at the top, I think is important. And so learning that with FA1, I mean, I think Sam hopes that too. I hope that. Just the sad reality is sometimes he can't beat me no matter how hard I try to mess it up. But I want to see him succeed as well. I want Sam to beat me. I think it's funner when Sam is beating me. Like, what was it? You passed me. I had to be like 8 months ago. Sorry, I'm getting a segue. Like 8 months ago, Sam passed me on the ratings. We would do this back and forth of like, I'm 940, he's 941, I'm 943, he's 942, and we did this for a while. And then finally he got the 950 hump and I got stuck. And it took me like 6 or 7 months to finally catch him. And then I passed him.
You passed me.
And like, so for me, I like that. I like that chase. Like I look at Sam as not only as one of my closest like disc golf buddies, but also one of my biggest rivals. So the better he's doing, the more I'm going to chase him down and hunt him down, because I can't do that. Dallas used to be that. I used to keep pace with Dallas, and then all of a sudden just like Dallas McBoy showed up and I couldn't catch him. So I needed to redefine who some of my rivals are, who some of the people that I'm comparing myself with. Colin, he's been a guest on here multiple times. He's somebody that I constantly say I'm 6 months behind him. Now I feel like it's 4 months behind him, but I still feel like I'm chasing this guy's down shadow. And even though I've beaten him a few times this year, I still feel like I haven't caught him. I haven't bridged that gap. And I need those things. I need those chases for me. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, Sam, I want him to beat me 100% because that gives me another target to chase. But I know I think sandbagging is a term I've been on record before about this, and I want to hear like Josh's opinion on this as well. I think sandbagging is misused quite a bit, especially as an explosive athlete myself, because I'm somebody that's been like 940 rated and shot 1,000 rated rounds, 920 rated and shot 990 rated rounds, and people would deem that sandbagging. But we're all capable of explosive rounds. We're all capable of putting together something magical because we've all been that. Of course, even Josh, who's probably the technically lowest rated person on here, he's gone to a course and shot 7, 8 down and had 1,000 rated taste, even if just casually. And that's disc golf, and that's what's great. And so at these tournaments, we're supposed to be peaking. We're supposed to be at our best. So when somebody goes and pops off, people are so quick to diminish it because they make that seem like they're a worse disc golfer. Oh, because Sam did so good and I did so bad, I must suck. Why am I, like they put this like energy out there rather than like trying to be excited for Sam and winning that, having that breakthrough. And I think the better you get, the more you see that of being like, it doesn't matter who you are. You shot an amazing round. I couldn't even think about shooting like 10 down on this course and you just did it. That's awesome. I shot 4 down and I felt good, but imagine that 10 down. Like, we need more of that positivity. We need more of that uplifting and getting away from labels like sandbaggers and move up. So what? So that you can win? Do you want to win that way, that the person that just won this tournament moved up so you don't have to worry about them? Like, no, one of my biggest things is that I beat Dallas for states, that I beat Sam for Buxton, that I beat, like those are some of my big accomplishments because of who I was facing. Sam doesn't have a big accomplishment in San Diego because Paige wasn't there. Dallas wasn't there. Like, so it doesn't mean anything to him.
Look, all I'm going to say is that Dallas did play that tournament.
Oh, he did. He did. I forgot he DNF'd.
I smashed him. So.
But see, just like that, that's what I'm talking about. Because Sam knows Dallas was there and he smashed Dallas. And that's important. And if Dallas wasn't there, it would still mean a lot because he won that tournament, obviously. But these rivalries exist through competition, through these quote unquote sandbagging. I mean, yeah, I think it's a misused term. And I think it's people trying to project their insecurities and frustrations of losing on why somebody was successful, and I don't like that. Josh, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think there is a line there, though. I don't think you can sandbag in MA1. I don't think you can. I think to go to MA1 to MPO, it's about giving yourself enough confidence. I feel like you could be playing a division that you're a lot more consistent, you're a lot more confident. If you play MA2 or MA3, you're just going to be pulling out W's, while there's people who like that friendly competition of playing with people who were similar in confidence and similar in skills and consistency. And so they play an MA3 or MA2. And if you're an MA1 player who decides, I want those trophies, so you go back down. Yeah, anyone could beat that person, but it's not as common, and it does kind of take away when you're going into a tournament and you look and see who's decided to play in a certain division. It's like, all right, well, the likelihood of me getting that achievements of like beating a field that's common in their skill set with me is kind of out the door. Mostly, it's possible, but it's not likely that I'd win. I think it takes away from the competition. It takes away from those amateurs that are playing just for fun and not trying to grind to be MPO. But I do get what you're saying. Anyone can have their day. Anyone could be anyone. It can happen. I mean, outside the elite level, because that's just ridiculous what they can do sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it's always tough too, because you're right. There's those like perennial people that stay down at MA2 and just win every weekend that they show up. But also, I don't see those people progressing like that you should imagine. If they can continue to play MA2 for 2 years straight and win 2 years worth of trophies, that's awesome. But you also know their rating, their skill cap hasn't improved. And so they're doing more detriment to their game and their development, and their trade-off is for trophies. And at the end of the day, the moment they move up to MA1, those MA2 trophies aren't going to feel as good anymore. When they move up to MPO eventually, those MA2 trophies aren't going to feel as good anymore because they didn't do it under the right light, under the right guys, under the right scope. And they're stunting their game. When I decided to go from MA2 to MA1 because I felt MA2 had a lot more tryhards at the time than MA1, I was thankful for that because I didn't get caught into that trophy chasing. I didn't get caught into that. I learned how to be successful in MA1. Just like now, I'm learning how to be successful in MPO because I'm not chasing these trophies. I'm not chasing this, and my game is continuing to improve because of that. People are stunted. Like, there's this 900 rated MA3 player that's doing it. Technically, it's within the rules, but what are they doing to their game to allow themselves to play that continually? They're not getting better. And so at the end of the day, that trophy is all they have to take home. And I think that's a sad version of disc golf, but some people really enjoy that. But if they're trying to get better, if you're trying to put your best foot forward, eventually they're going to move up. Eventually they're going to take the next step up. And if they don't, like Josh moved up to MA1 this year, like because of some of those sandbaggings. He wanted to experience MA1, right? Am I wrong, Josh? I don't want to be wrong, but like he moved, like I thought he moved up because he wanted to get away from that and start to enjoy the game. And his skill set is going to show up that, because I said this before, there's a difference when you step on that green and everybody misses the putt and you go to putt and you miss and it's like, oh, we all did it. But there's a difference when everyone bangs that putt and you bang that putt. And that's that little bit of like, okay, cool. And that's what's going to make you better.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, guys, we're going for an hour and 15 minutes. We're going long. So I do have to be mindful of time. Yes, I have all of my MA1 trophies that I've won, especially my Oregon State Championship.
Oh my God.
Hey, state champion here. I got 1 year to brag about it. I'm the defending state champion this year. I was here's a little tangent. This will be my closing thoughts before we pass it on. So my closing thoughts, I was in Dela and I was playing a practice round with some friends, and they were like, "Hey, you're from Oregon. Do you know so and so?" I was like, "The name sounds familiar. I haven't heard from them in a while. Why? What's up?" They're like, "Oh, I think they're the state champion in Oregon." And I was like, "Hold up. No, he was not the MA1 state champion. I am. My name is Paige. I am not this person." And realized he was talking about the MA1 state champ for 2 years. 2 years ago when he battled Jeb. which was a fun battle. I was a part of that. I think I got like 4th or 5th, maybe 6th or 7th. I don't remember. But anyways,
9th, 10th. Who's counting?
yeah, that was 2 years ago. But I got 1 year of defending this title. I am pumped for this weekend. Clearly, we just talked a lot about Milo Gold, and BSF. I am excited for it. I am ready for this. I'm gonna have a blast. I have a dream card. So I'm gonna go out there and have some fun. We'll kick it off to Sam for some closing thoughts.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys again to letting me come on and talk about all these various topics. It's always a pleasure. Same thing, honestly. I am so excited to play BSF this weekend. Think I've got very manageable expectations. I'm gonna go out there and I'm going to do my best. I'm going to play my game. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to soak it all in. And then, I'm going to have that experience. I'm going to have that exposure. So the next time I'm in an opportunity like this, I can capitalize on it.
Okay.
Exactly. Josh, closing thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? I'm hoping to go play Dexter. They just got all brand new baskets.
Good. What kind?
Disc catchers.
Let's go. Let's go.
Got
Dexter
brand
just
new
moved
baskets.
up.
Because they're
in my
getting ready,
book.
for the Masters to come through. So it's a good upgrade.
Much needed upgrade.
Yes, it was. Because we had those Prodigy ones that just spit out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of people bitching about Prodigy baskets at a Dexter tournament is probably akin to Ari and her woos. I don't know which one's more like just synonymous with something, but Dexter and their baskets in a tournament, every hole, like you'll get people like, oh, limping, like, goddamn Dexter baskets didn't catch my putt.
Okay, then to finish it off, I do want to tell, how does Jerry Ann get a Jammer shirt? In the words of Aaron,
She don't.
Soon. It'll happen. And while I'm at it, might as well do a shameless plug. We got some new. They're coming soon. Got some Thought Space patches coming on ThoughtSpaceAthletics.com. It'll be here. And last but not least, for my final thoughts, Paige, I'm gonna need you to do earmuffs. Sam, I really hope you beat him very badly. And that's all I have.
All right, guys. So this week's sponsor, we're going to do a little bit differently. Sam and myself, just like Josh and myself, share a sponsor. Josh and myself share TSA. Sam and myself share All Day Disc Golf. So All Day Disc Golf is a local brick and mortar here in Portland, Oregon. They have an amazing selection of discs and beer. They're one of the only shops that are willing to take chances on new discs. So when you have somebody like Birdie that comes out, they're willing to buy them and see how they are and push them. And I think that's important for brick and mortars because you go in there and you fill a lot of discs. But why I wanted to highlight All Day Disc Golf is because Jesse Tomeno is one of the TDs for Beaver State Fling. He put a lot of man hours in. He put a lot of effort into it. Milo Gold is playing like probably my favorite course of all time out of all of the courses I played, and that's saying something. And he's doing it in a way that is inclusive to all of the MPO and FPO thoughts. It's probably one of the only FPO designed 18. Every FPO hole has been thought out. They probably have the Dream 18 for FPO. Page designed, by the way. I had the vision. It is there. My one mark on the disc golf world, but the effort that Jesse put into making sure that the FPO was represented in this course is huge. So make sure that you're checking out both MPO and FPO coverage at Beaver State Fling this weekend because they're not the same 18 holes, just with modified pars. They are different shots. They are different shot shapes, and they're really thinking about FPO for this tournament. So, Jesse, huge shout out to All Day Disc Golf. If you're local in town, go swing by them. Tell them Paige and Sam sent you, and tell them they promised you something free, because that's what we're here for, guys. So, with that, thank you so much for tuning in out. Keep jamming it in the rough. We'll see you next week.